welcome to episode 33 of the Intern's Oddities. Now, today we will be talking about Jigoku, which is the Japanese Buddhist hell, and actually has nothing to do with Goku from Dragon Ball. Sorry to disappoint you with that. So, this one was recommended to me by our good buddy Rob, the main host of our show over here, and since we were discussing the afterlife, he thought this would be a good one to go over, and I gotta say, I have been very intrigued with what I've found so far. You've heard of the basic heaven and hell that a lot of the Western religions have. Heaven is typically seen as a paradise with God, and you get to relive your best memories, and you get to see all your loved ones and relatives and all this happiness. And then hell is typically seen as an evil place, where all the bad people go and you get punished and tortured for all eternity. But, it's like you get thrown into some flames, or, you get whipped by demons, that's about it. No big deal. And then, some of you may be familiar with Dante's Inferno and the different levels of hell. Now, I've only played the video game and briefly got into the book when I was in high school, but I have been told that the video game is not a valid representation of Dante's Inferno, so I'm not going to be speaking on that too much tonight. I just wanted to throw that out there as an example of another type of interpretation of hell. So let's get into it. In Jigoku, the Japanese Buddhist hell, Jigoku is literally the Japanese word for hell. So you may see some cross references in pop culture, like there's an anime called Hell's Paradise. So that popped up a lot during my research. But basically it's hell for Buddhist people in Japan. And here's the thing. A lot of people pointed this out, and I gotta say, I have to agree with them on this one. Some people said that, because of the Japanese Buddhist hell and everything going on here, some people have said that, let me get my thoughts here. It's very interesting to think about the Buddhist hell in relation to their beliefs and their religion, because the Buddhist people believe that you should, be very peaceful. You shouldn't harm anything, not even something as small and insignificant as an ant or a fly, or else that's a sin that you will 100% come to regret in the afterlife. Because there is a lot that goes into this. Okay, let's be brutal right off the top, okay? Trigger warning, women's reproduction. So, yeah, we're going right there. One thing I wanted to mention right off the bat, go ahead and get it out of the way, is my research told me that in Jigoku, one of the areas of hell has, and this is going to get really gross, so you may want to, not watch this part while you're eating. But there is an area of Jigoku where they say that women are forced to drink menstrual blood from a river, because they claim that women are jealous of, because it will be more difficult for them to achieve Buddhahood, and so they are jealous of men, and the blood that comes out of them each month, they say, is their sin. But that's just, no, it's just uncomfortable to talk about that, but it had to be said. So moving on from that, let's get back to a little more of a description of Jigoku, more detailed than just Japanese Buddhist hell. So there are 8 cold hells and 8 warm hells. And within each of those, there are also greater hells and smaller hells. And overall, there are over 64,000 different hells because each hell is dedicated to torture and punish an individual sin. For example, if you commit the sin of, oh, I don't know, killing a deer at any point in your lifetime, you know, run over it, accidental, hunting on purpose, whatever, regardless of the context, if you kill a deer, that counts as a sin. Okay? And the hell that you would go to would involve, once again, it's a little gross, so prepare yourself for that. Um, but if you killed a deer, your hell would involve them force feeding you fecal matter for thousands of years. Yeah. And time moves a little differently in Jigoku than it does on Earth. And each deeper layer of hell, it's like a Matryoshka doll of hell. And each one gets a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper. And as you go deeper into these hells, it takes longer and longer uh, for the Earth in the real world to catch up with you in hell. So, for example, if you had to serve 1,000 years as your sentence in the first layer of hell, that might be 100,000 years on Earth by the time, because of the time difference. And it becomes more and more the deeper you go into this Jigoku, the Japanese hell. So, that's another thing that's very scary. And, oh, another good example is if you had the sin of lust and lewdness, then you would go to a hell with a forest. Okay? But not your typical forest that you're used to. No, 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 no. No. This forest, all the trees, all their leaves and, their branches have all been replaced with swords. And as your lewdness dictates that you do, you look up to the tops of these trees and you see, well, I know we try to keep this as much of a family friendly show as we can, but this is a very dark and brutal topic. So I'm just going to go ahead and come right out and say it. You look up to the tops of these trees and they see naked people. They think they see nude people of whatever they're attracted to. So they try to climb whichever gender that they're attracted to. They think they see nude people. So they try to climb these trees, and right as they're about to get to the top and they think they're getting really close to the person, they look down and the person is at the bottom of the tree now. And then they climb back down. And when they get close to the bottom, they look back up and the person is near the top of the tree again. And it repeats perpetually until they shred themselves and their guts are spilling out onto the pavement underneath. Well, it's not pavement, it's more like a forest, so it's more like dirt. And once their guts start spilling out underneath from all the cuts and all the damage from climbing up and down these trees, that's when the demons come out and attack and gobble up all their organs. And then they die, and then the process repeats during rebirth. And if you were uh, a thief and a killer, well, then you would have to go through this other hell where they would, let's see, how do I word this? They would create these black stripes, black marks on your body using, I think they said they used ropes. I'm trying to do this without my notes, to be completely honest with you. I feel like I'm doing pretty well so far. But they would use these, things to create black marks on your body, and once these marks were created, they would actually get big saws and blades, and they would chop your body up into segments in all these different areas, and then you would be reborn, and they would repeat the process. They had some seriously twisted and messed up stuff going on in Buddhist hell. Yo, Japanese Buddhist hell is absolutely freaking terrifying. It makes Dante's Inferno look like Candyland. Candyland. Let me speak properly. I apologize. But yeah, it's really just they go all out with this. And the worst part of all is there is the at the deepest layer of Jigoku is an eternal hell of unending, unpausing, unrelenting suffering and torture. And at this core of this hell, there's actually two different opinions on how long you stay in this particular level of hell. Some people believe that you would stay in this level of hell for all eternity, perpetually, and you'll never be free. And other people believe that you could be free and it's timed like all the other hells, but rather than being like 54 quadrillion years or 800 trillion years or anything like that, it's a number that is so high, humans have not even calculated that high yet. Human math does not have a number for how long that would be. Like, let that soak into your mind for a second. We don't even have a number for how long you would be trapped in this hell. Yeah, so that's pretty brutal right there. Like it's basically gonna be forever. And you're never gonna escape. And they say that this layer of hell is so brutal that they can't even tell us how brutal this layer of hell truly is, because if they were to speak it or you were to hear it, you would puke blood and be no more. Trying to censor myself for YouTube, but I think you get the point. You would puke blood, and that would be the end of your existence. So they can't even tell us how gruesome and brutal this darkest, deepest layer of Jigoku truly goes. I think that is a good place to end it. So thank you for coming to hang out with me. And I hope you have enjoyed learning about Jigoku as much as I have. And if you want to look up some more information, there's actually a online museum where you can see the scrolls of Jigoku. I have not found that myself yet. I have merely heard about it, so I apologize. I cannot give you a direct link at this current point in time, but it's easy enough to find. And we have the title spelled right here, Jigoku. And I just kind of gave like a brief synopsis. I didn't go too deep into everything. There was a lot further I could have gone, but we're trying to keep these videos fairly short, not to overwhelm people, be more like bite-sized pieces of information, So I think that's a good stopping point. Thank you for coming to hang out. Stay, and I will see you next time. And as always, why be boring when you can be uncanny?